Says I'm starting a live video. I am live on Facebook. Yay! I think I'm live on Facebook. All right, we're live on Facebook. I don't know what's going on with this YouTube thing. Really don't know. But anyway, glad to see everybody in tonight. Get my chat pulled up. Bunch of people popping in. Glad to see everybody. Sorry about the YouTube thing. I'm going to have to check on that and see why I can't get that to work, because I am not happy with that. I wished I could go and see this on YouTube, but I'll figure it out. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I got several people popping in now. Hope my picture quality is all right. I'm using an iPad, but I'm also looking at my laptop, so if you see me going back and forth, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to read everybody's comments. But the reason I wanted to jump on here tonight is just say thanks, everybody. I hit 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel last night. And I'd like to say thanks to everybody who has subscribed to my channel and supported me. I don't know what's going on. Somebody's moving my camera. You going?
No.
No. It'll fall. It'll fall. But anyways. All right. Back again. That's fine. I'm fine. But anyway, I want to talk some fishing tonight. We're gonna got a bunch of thumbs up going. I appreciate y'all so much. But anyway, I hit 1,000 subscribers last night, and I appreciate everybody who subscribed to me on YouTube and supported me all this time. I really do appreciate it. So we're going to talk some fishing tonight, and I will be having a contest coming up that I'm going to give away some stuff. I'm not real sure what I'm going to give away. It'll either be a gift certificate or some lures or some product. I'm not real sure. I hadn't figured it out yet. I kind of got to 1,000 before I figured out what I was going to do when I got there. So, I'll post a separate video for that on my YouTube channel. If you guys have not subscribed to that already, once we get done here, just type in Ernest Cold Fishing on YouTube and it'll bring me right up. And we'll do that. So if you guys got any questions tonight as far as fishing goes and conditions, or winter fishing or spring fishing or whatever kind of fishing you got, or want to post a comment, go ahead and post them below, and we'll talk about that. That's what I'm here tonight for, just to talk to you guys, and I can talk about fishing all day long. Brandon Shepherd, fishing rules. You got a specific rule that you're asking about, or or is you just saying fishing rules? Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Let's see here. So, had 4 people, had a bunch jump on. Where'd they all go? Don't leave. Good to see. What are the conditions right now on or near your favorite lake right now? How would I find bass? Well, right now, I fish Tennessee River. I fish Pickwick. And right now, the conditions are really tough. We've had a lot of rain. The water, they have drawn it down from winter pool to summer pool, back down to winter pool. So the water has fluctuated in the last couple of weeks, 4 to 6 feet either way. So right now, finding the fish is tough. Right now, if you can, you do have to do a lot of graphing to find where the bait fish in the area is. And if you can find that, the bass are mostly close by. Now, I've went fishing last Monday or Tuesday, and the water was starting to being drawn down back to the wintertime pool. And it was tough to find some fish. It was tough to find bait fish. I looked deep and shallow, and it was kind of tough to find, but I did find some. The ones I did find were shallow. I caught some around a marina. I caught one on a marina, and then I went into another cove, and they were a little bit deeper. I'm gonna say they're about 10 foot, 10 or 12 foot. I was fishing around boat docks, some deeper boat docks, and I caught some fish that way. I caught a couple on a blade bait, and I caught a one on a spinnerbait. So it was just kind of all over the place. How have you been catching, Brandon, where you're at? Sorry, I was checking my notifications there. Albert Finley, good to see you. I see you popped in. You guys can share this to other groups if you want, and we'll get a bunch of people on here and talk fishing. But like I said earlier, I appreciate everybody's support for the 1,000 subscribers. I know it's Friday night, and about right now, probably a lot of people's at a football game, if there's any high school football games going on. I didn't think about that when I got on here, but I think the other night we had a bunch of people on here. What? Mm-hmm. Brandon, I appreciate you sharing that to another group. Maybe we can get a few more on. Deborah and Daryl Vanderford. How you doing, cuz? Sam Ryan. Sam, good to see you. Brandon, last time I was out, I've been finding mostly active bass in calm areas during light wind days, jerk baits, erratic, 3 twitch combo, short pause between the fish are on pause, near sharp breaks. That's a good pattern this time of year. Jerk bait's a good cold water bait. I know that down a little bit south of where I fish in Bay Springs, they're pretty good on jerk baits, and from what I understand, up in above Pickwick and Wilson Lake, they catch a lot on jerk baits in the cold weather. Tommy Thompson, good to see you. Glad to have you here tonight. You guys, any of you guys that join, if you got any questions or comments, just type them in there, and we'll talk about them. Make a bass jerk bait, except the ones that cost like $4 for poor dudes like me. I hear you. Some of those jerk baits can get expensive. I know the, I think it's a Vision 110 is a pretty expensive jerk bait, and but it does produce. I used to catch a lot on the Smithwick Rogues. I was in a BFL tournament several years ago. That's really the first time I got introduced to jerkbait fishing, and the guy I was with actually won the tournament on the boulder side. I was a co-angler at the time, and he just kind of gave me a schooling all day long on that jerkbait. Caught a lot of jerkbait that day. But that was several years ago, and he actually won the tournament by a good margin on jerkbait on the Pickwick. Got a few guys jumping in. Guys, I'm glad to see you. Have I ever used the IMA jerkbaits? One of my favorites next to the Mega 110. I've not. I've tried the IMA crankbaits, and they're really nice. I've got a shallow runner that I got in a mystery tackle box, I think last year. That's a really good crankbait, and really like it a lot. But I have not tried the jerk baits from IMA. I think those come from Japan, if I'm not mistaken. favorite pre-spawn lure and where to fish in dirty water during pre-spawn from Colby. That's a pretty easy one for me. Pre-spawn, especially in dirty water, I'm going to go shallow. If I can find some grass, I'm going to fish around grass, and it's going to be with a rattle trap. Some people call it a lipless crankbait. I kind of refer to all lipless crankbaits as a rattle trap. That's what I started out fishing, and that's what I still fish today. I caught one of my biggest fish ever on a rattle trap on Pickwick. I think it was 2 years ago, and it was a red rattle trap. It's a good pre-spawn, and in dirty water, go as shallow as you can get, because in the pre-spawn, they're going to be heading up. All right. Ooh, okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I got a little bit locked up for just a second there. My phone rang. But hope I'm back live now. Am I back live now? Have I fished Bay Springs in the last week or so? No, I have not fished Bay Springs in quite a while. Last week I fished up at Pickwick. I usually put in at State Line, and I did talk to a guy at the ramp that usually fishes down around Bay Springs, and he said it was a little tough down there. I'm not sure the water clarity, because the amount of rain and the water's been up and down, so I don't know about the water clarity down there. It's been a while since I've been down there, but Bay Springs is kind of a tough lake for me in general, but I do like Bay Springs. I've caught a lot of nice fish down there, and look forward to going back pretty soon. Has anybody fished Bay Springs lately that's on here that can kind of give a little help to Tommy there? If you have, just kind of punch that in the chat button down there. Another good pre-spawn bait is a chatterbait. If you guys talk about Bay Springs this time of year, if you can fish a chatterbait, it's in a little bit off-colored water, it'll do good. Either a white and chartreuse is a good pre-spawn, or black and blue is a good pre-spawn fish. Let's see here. Got a few people jumping on. Glad to see y'all. You got a fishing question, just punch it in, mash it in, however you do it. Depends on if you're on a computer or iPhone. But check some notifications here. Also, another good pre-spawn bait is, last year I did really good as maybe like a follow-up. If you get bit on like a rattle trap, a little 2.5, 3-inch swim bait. I've used in not really dirty water, but kind of stained water. But it can get up on Tennessee River or any TBAs. It can get dirty, and it on the clearer days when it's not just like muddy, a little small swim bait will do really good. It's kind of overlooked, and also a Ned rig is a really good bait any time of the year. I've fished that thing a lot this year, from the coldest months of the year to the hottest times in the summer, and I have caught fish on a Ned rig all year long, and I really like that thing. Got a few more people on here now. I will be having a giveaway here pretty soon. I'll be announcing that. I'll share it on this Facebook page, and it'll be on my YouTube page as well. I will be giving away a prize pack. I'm not real sure. I hadn't got it figured out yet, but I will be giving away some stuff. Probably worth about around $50 is what I'm planning on giving away. But I'll post that in a later video. What's your flipping setup? Favorite flipping setup? That would be probably a 7.5 foot rod. I don't really go super heavy on my flipping setup unless I'm fishing mats, and then I'll go to braid, probably like a 50 or 65 pound braid. Probably a high speed reel. I think I've got a 7-1 reel out there that I use on my flipping setup. I keep it pretty simple. I'll throw a Zoom Z-Crawl a lot. A Super Hog is one of my all-time favorite confidence baits. That Z-Crawl in watermelon red, and I will dip the tail chartreuse either in JJ's Magic or spike it, and that's probably my favorite bait to break out. If it's tough out there, I'll break out that Super Hog, probably a 3/8 ounce weight. Depending on which rod I've got it on, it'll be either be 12-pound test, or I think I've got one rod with 17 right now. That may seem a little light to people, but that's really a confidence line weight for me. Most of my rods have 12-pound test, either fluorocarbon or monofilament, and that's just what I'm used to doing. I can take a 1/4 ounce or a 3/8 ounce Super Hog, and I can flip it, and I can know exactly how long it's going to take for that bait to get to the bottom, and if it don't get there quick enough, then I'll go ahead and set the hook, and I just know that bait and that weight with that line. I just, that's the one I can fish in my sleep. It's just a really good confidence bait. How do you break out of the comfort zone? That's a tough thing to do. I don't know a correct answer to that. If they ain't biting it, try something else. I'm a diehard junk fisherman, so if you you may come at the start of the day, and I may have 2 rods on the deck, and if you see me an hour later, I may have 12 rods on the deck. It's just I'll keep on going until I find what they like, or find what I think they're gonna like. Do I ever use spinner baits in the winter months? Absolutely I do, especially if you got a little bit of stain in that water and a little bit of wind. A spinner bait with a Colorado blade, just a single Colorado blade, is killer in the winter time. I actually ordered 4 of them yesterday. I ordered a 1/2 ounce single Colorado blade. Ordered 4 of them yesterday. Hopefully it'll be in the mail tomorrow. Excuse me. I ordered that from Flatlands Custom Tackle. If you've not heard of Flatlands or checked them out, Flatlands is a good company, small company. He's got good baits. The schoolie rigs that he's got is absolutely wonderful, and they're the Alabama rig type baits. So if you can check out Flatlands, they're awesome. Missile D-bomb, excellent flipping bait. Absolutely, missile baits are awesome. I like missile baits a lot. Hello from Russellville. Hello, Mr. Tim. How you doing tonight? Good to see you. Tore them up on spinner baits this week. I figured you would with that stay in water. Tim, did y'all go to Wilson, or did you stay down here on Pickwick? I know that Pickwick this week has been pretty dirty. It's the main river is real dirty. In the back of the pockets is a little stained, but it's not muddy in the back of the pockets that I was in. But spinner baits, I caught one last week when I went, and hopefully I'll be going. I won't get out this weekend, but next time I go, I do plan on throwing a spinner bait a lot. It was pretty windy when I went, so I figured that would be pretty good. Myself, I like a chartreuse and white spinner bait. Cedar Lake in Franklin County. Okay, I ain't been to that lake. I have to get up there one of these days. Damn, man, you're gonna have to go fishing one of these days if I can never get up that way towards y'all. But we're gonna have to go back to below Pickwick Dam, get us some of them big old shiners, and float down for them big smallmouth. All right, Brandon, if there's a single similarity, can you pull that when it comes? Let me read that again. If there is one single similarity you can point out when it comes to all of your biggest bass catches, what would it be? Well, my biggest smallmouth come in September on a topwater bait. I was fishing a popper style bait, and that was a couple of years ago. I was down south of here, and my biggest largemouth came off I was in a place called Tipple Lake, and I caught it on a crankbait. And my second biggest largemouth was in the pre-spawn period on Pickwick on a rattle trap. But I've caught some really nice fish this time of year in the winter. An Alabama rig, if you've never thrown that, it's a really good bait. I have a love-hate relationship with an Alabama rig just because it's kind of hard to throw sometimes all day long. And to me, it's either really, really good or not much happening with it at all. That's just my experience with it. It's either on or off for me. But I do love an Alabama rig, and this time of year, it's always on the deck and it's always ready to go. So, went to Wilson, only caught one. Well, bless your heart, Tim. Tim, did you try a jerk bait? How's that jerk bait bite up there on Wilson Lake? I hear it's good in the wintertime. I've never been up there in the wintertime. Expecting a bunch more rain. Yes, we are. There's a big storm out in the Midwest right now, and we'll get a lot of rain this weekend. Hopefully sometime this week I'll sneak off and go, and I don't know if I'll go up to the Pickwick or not. I may try to go to a smaller lake and where the rain and it's not affected it as much, or it's not as dirty. 4 nice lakes here with BCDs, all run by TVA. All right. Clear Cedar Lake. Yep. Really low. Hello from Stantonville, Tennessee. Hello, Stantonville, Tennessee. It's a nice little town. Zachary, good to see you. A Shimano Traxxas 300 or 400 will boss those out of Alabama. Absolutely, Shimano is an excellent reel. I've got one Garcia right now. It's a Revo, and the rest of my reels are Lew's. I love Lew's reels, but Shimano, excellent. Throwing it on fluorocarbon, I get more big bites in the winter with it than on braid. Really, my Alabama rig setup changes yearly. I have thrown that on anything from 17-pound fluorocarbon to 65-pound braid. Right now, I've got a really good swim bait rod set up. I've got it on a 711 rod that I built myself, and the reel is a Lew's. I forgot it's a 5-to-1 gear ratio. I forgot the model name, but it's a Lew's reel. It's the $200 Lew's reel. I got a really good half-off deal. BB1 Pro is what I don't. BB1 Pro. I've got on Lew's BB1 Pro, and I've got it on a 25-pound monofilament. Berkeley Big Game is what I've got that on right now. So my A-rig setup changes. So I've thrown an Alabama rig from the lightest fluorocarbon to the heaviest braid, and anything in between. Personally, I haven't found a much difference. I didn't like throwing it on braid just because braid, if you overspin that spool, sometimes it's hard to get the bird nest out of braid, but I do love it. You can, if you get an Alabama rig hung, then with that braid, it's a little bit easier to get it loose because you can really yank on it and bend those hooks out. Can't resist Pickwick on the Tennessee side. Me neither. I fish mainly around the Yellow Creek area is where I spend a lot of my time, or down by J.P. Coleman State Park. I fished there. The beginning of the year, right when the Alabama rig, they started really biting real good, I went up to Crogger's Island, really. Crogger's Island, and right past it, me and a friend of mine, Blake, and there was a lot of grass up in there, and we done really good. Even had a few doubles that day. Ned Rig's been killing it. Yes, Ned Rig is awesome year round. Okay, Zachary's a fishing buddy of Tim's. Well, that's good to know. Kill one. Zach's got an 8-foot carrot stick, extra heavy, and Avo Garcia. Whoop. Revo Pro 50-pound braid. That's a good setup. You got to have a good rod, a good heavy rod with that Alabama rig, because those things, they're a couple of ounces a piece, and they can wear you out. That's why I got myself a really long rod. I wanted it as a dual purpose. I got it for Alabama rigs in the winter, and I'm going to try to get on some of those really big swim baits, like maybe a Jackal Gantarelle and maybe a Depths lure this summer, and just try it. Never tried to fish those type big swim baits, and I kind of built that rod for that purpose. Favorite gear ratio on a reel for a larger Alabama rig. I like throwing my Alabama rigs on a slow gear ratio because it doesn't wear me out. I've tried it on like a 6-to-1 with like a 7.5-foot flipping stick, and it's a little bit hard on my shoulders after a while. But that's why I really love that setup I've got now. Florence McFarland, super awesome. Yes, it is. Still catching them on a steel shad. Yes, I am. I caught a couple of fish on, wasn't a steel shad, it was some blade baits that I've been making myself just from a do-it mold. And the actual ones that I caught last time I was out, I caught a couple, and I had spray painted those red because I was using red. The water was a little bit dirty and a little around 50 degrees, so I thought maybe the red would kind of help me out, and it did. I caught a couple of fish on a red blade bait. Same thing as a steel shad. Steel shad is awesome. Love that steel shad. Just started running A-rig this year. Once you get on that A-rig bite, it's addictive. I tell you what. Tons of those shoes from back throughout in California. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of guys on YouTube catch them out in California. I am originally from Mississippi. Born and raised. What waters you fish most? Like shallow, deep, weeds, woods, water clear, GPS coordinates. Hey, if you talk to me long enough, I'm liable to give you a GPS coordinate. I don't fish much tournaments anymore, so I'm all about helping people, and if I can teach somebody how to fish, great. If I can help them out, I will. I am primarily a shallow water guy. If there's a little wood around, great. If there is a little grass around, being the Tennessee River where I fish, I'm not a ledge guy. I'm not a ledge guy at all. I've tried it. It's just not my thing. I don't have the patience to idle for 2 hours to find a school of fish. I've done it before with some success, but to do it all the summer like those guys do it, I just don't have the patience for it. Plus, if you find one hole, it won't be but just 10 minutes, and you'll have 5 boats on top of you. So I just really don't like fishing that way, personally. Tennessee color or Mississippi State color on the steel shads. Oh, it would actually look kind of like a Christmas tree color. It was red and had some little sparkles in it. Kossuth, Mississippi. I went to school in Kossuth, Mississippi. Aunt used to live in Columbus. Been there once. Never fished though. I was 5 years old. I hear Columbus Lake down there can be really good. I almost went down there once for a BFL tournament, but I didn't go. But I hear Columbus is pretty good, but I hear it's full of stumps and will kill a lower unit. Eat deep water, War Eagle speed. War Eagles got good spinner baits, absolutely. Do you ever catch or see tilapia? Well, I call a drum a Mississippi tilapia, if you can count that, but I have not seen any tilapia in Mississippi. I have not. There's no etiquette in fishing, especially on ledges. I absolutely agree with you on that. I have been, I've been 50 yards away from people, or well, longer than that, a football field away from people, and got hollered at just because I was just idling by on the, I wasn't trying to fish or nothing. I'd slow down to idle by them, and they just hollered at me. And I was actually fishing in front of J.P. Coleman State Park once, and I had a marker buoy out on a little hump there, and I was fishing to it, and I know who they was, and they were in a tournament, and I knew it was a college tournament that weekend. It's been a couple of years ago, and they pulled right up and started throwing to my buoy, and it irritated me a lot. I knew what they were doing. I knew they were fishing a tournament, and if they'd have said, "Hey, we're in a tournament, do you mind if we fish here?" I would have left, because I knew what they were doing. I was just out fun fishing. But yeah, there's no etiquette out on those ledges. I just don't like it. It's too crowded. If I've got to worry about crossing lines with a guy, I'm just not going to do it. What's the weirdest sight or occurrence you ever saw while fishing in Mississippi? I was this past summer, actually. I saw, it looked like somebody's white ferret had gotten loose up in the woods where I was fishing at J.P. Coleman Park. And it was the weirdest thing I ever seen. It was a huge ferret, looked like a ferret, and but he was having a ball up in them woods. But and I have actually seen some people post a picture of that thing. They thought it was an otter, and it may have been an otter. I don't know what it was, but you've seen those white otters, yeah. I've seen them up there too. They're kind of weird looking, a big white otter up in the woods. Ferrets are awesome. Ferrets are cool looking. Have I used Shimano DC reels? I have not tried Shimano reels, although that particular reel that you're talking about, I use primarily luge reels, and I don't use the super expensive luge reels. Actually, I'll use the Speed Spool, the like $89 one. I've got a few of those. I've got a few of the $125 luge reels. I'm not sure of the models of those right now. The most expensive reel that I have is a $200 luge BB1, and I got it half off. Caught a sale, and that's the only reason I bought it. I went to buy a rod and reel combo, and the reel that I wanted at the time they didn't have, so they gave me a deal on this one, so I kind of lucked out on that. Same place right out of J.P. Coleman. Yep, that's where I saw those big white, whatever they were too. Best time baits for smallies. Per the riverside or lakeside on Pickwick. What part are you talking about? The riverside or the lakeside there, Zachary? Use the lure, lose myself, just curious. The best baits and times for smallies. I've caught a lot of smallies on bluffs. I really like fishing bluffs. That's kind of one of my go-tos as well. If I can't get a bite, in a pocket or my go-tos, I'll usually try to fish a bluff either in on the main river, or I'll go in Yellow Creek and fish some bluff walls too. Just found Bass Pro Carbon Lock 2.0. Okay. I've heard those Bass Pro Carbon Locks are really good. Best bait to catch smallmouths on Pickwick. If I'm fishing bluffs, I'm usually fishing a super hog. Zoom Super Hogs, usually going to be watermelon red with the chartreuse tail. I have a tube is a really good bait to catch smallmouth. I know that, I don't know if a lot of people use tubes anymore. I use them on occasion. It's one of those baits, kind of like a grub that just kind of you forget about sometimes, and it just how good a bait it is. And I've watched some old footage on YouTube of Archie Williams catch them on a black marabou jig up there around Crogger's Island. I watched a show with him and Leon Tidwell, and it was early 80s TV show, but they were just wearing them out on probably about an 1/8 ounce black marabou jig, just kind of crawling it along, and it looked like they were in early spring. So I've been meaning to try that too. I knew just right there at the head of Crogger's Island, between there and the Natchez Trace Bridge. Back to basic. I usually stick back to the basics myself. Blow the dam. Yep. Most productive water tension range for catching largest smallmouth. Colder water, really. The winter time, you'll catch the biggest fish. Has been my opinion. Cold water right now is a good time to go. Up at Pickwick, they have been absolutely killing it on the winter trail, the Pickwick Winter Trail. I actually think I seen a guy come in here. Let's see here if I can find him here. Brad Presley, no, he ain't one. Pickwick right now is producing a lot of big fish right now, and a lot of good smallmouth. I think I seen Josh Williams. Josh, are you on here? I thought I seen your name pop up. I think he is involved with the Pickwick Winter Trail, and I know they've just been killing it up there. I've seen the weigh-ins from those guys, and it's just been, the fish has been really good up there. I don't fish that winter trail, but there's some hammers in it. I mean, absolute hammers that fish that winter trail up there. And just looking by the weights, I'm not sure what they're catching them on. I can guess this time of year they're catching them on Alabama rigs. Because a lot of times in the wintertime, if you're not fishing Alabama rig, you're getting beat by it. A lot of times. Yep, 24, 34 pound bags, yeah. Thoughts on the banjo minnow and the banjo frog? I've never heard of the banjo frog. Banjo minnow, I don't know, but I've never fished the banjo minnow. That's kind of like the flying lure. I did buy some of those when I was younger. When those commercials came out, the flying lure, the banjo minnow, what was that other thing? That helicopter lure. I've been meaning to, actually, you can still buy all of those lures, the banjo minnow, the flying lure, and the helicopter lure. You can still find those. I've been meaning to, I see them on eBay sometimes. I've been meaning to get me some and just kind of try them and do a little video just to kind of do it as a fun thing. But banjo minnow, I don't know. I've never tried the banjo minnow. Judy Austin, hi. Hello, Judy Austin. How are you? Let's see here. Some of you guys that just joined, if you got any questions or comments, just type them in below, and we'll talk about it. I think I got 13 people, 14 watching. Did you ever own a Zebco 202? I owned a bunch of Zebco 202s. I love those suckers. Those are die hard. I love those old Zebcos. I fished when I first started fishing when I was a teenager. I fished those Zebcos all the time. Any of the watersheds still going around Cossack? I don't know. if they are or not. Zachary, I fished every one of them as a teenager. And some, some lakes we went to was just on somebody's property out in the middle of nowhere, and we had to walk through the woods to get there. But I fished all those watersheds around Kossuth area. They were really good. I know that as far as up here, if you're on Corinth area, I think Hurricane Creek, I don't know if you've ever heard of that or not. That's a good lake. Used to be a real good lake, and it kind of got a little overgrown with weeds. And the people who used to run the store there, I think they've don't live there anymore. And the ramp there kind of got in bad shape. I don't know if it's easy to put a boat in there or not, but we used to fish out of Hurricane Creek all the time and catch some nice fish. There used to be some great shell cracker spots. Yeah, those watershed lakes around Kossuth were really good. What kind of species have I caught for bass that were not bass? I've caught drum. I've caught pickerel. I've caught, when I was a teenager, we used to go to these old backwaters and sloughs, and we'd catch alligator gar. Alligator gar is a mean critter. But I've caught catfish. I've caught a lot of catfish on bass lures, crankbaits and Alabama rigs, swim baits. Caught some really nice catfish on them too, but just a lot of junk fish like that. I've caught crappie on an Alabama rig, if you can believe that or not. Can't remember where Hurricane Creek was. If you know where Lake Hill Motors is, across the road, there's a road called, what was that lake? Salem Road. If you go out Salem Road, right across from Lake Hill Motors, it'll take you right to it. See the big bag today on Sam Rayburn? I seen some big old fish caught at Sam Rayburn. I haven't followed that tournament too die hard today from work, but I did see a lot of big fish caught today, and that's just, they've had a lot of rain out there at Rayburn, and that water's really, really high, and that just tells you, just how good those guys are to go out there and that water rising, feet every day, and them go out there and catch 33 pounds of bass. That's just unbelievable. I seen some pictures from John Cox. He was fishing down a country road and fishing in the woods. And that's how much the water's up at Sam Rayburn right now. Big bass was 11-2. Wow. I seen one guy, and it might have been the leader. He caught a 9 and an 8 today. So out there in Sam Rayburn, they're just killing it right now. It'd be interesting to see just how much is caught this week with the all that rain they're getting out there. It'd be nice to know what they're catching them on too. Speaking of tournaments, how many of you guys are excited for the new Bass Pro Tour, the Major League Fishing Tour that's coming around? I'm really excited to watch that, and I love to watch Major League Fishing on Saturdays. I think the new season started last week, and I just stay glued to that on Saturday afternoons. I love watching Major League Fishing. Not me. You don't, Johnny, you don't like Major League Fishing? Is that what you're saying? DVR all of them. Yeah, I do too. If I can only choose one type of spot to fish on a large river, dam, bridge, or creek mouth, which would you choose? If I was fishing probably with live bait, I'd probably fish the dam and I'd drift down behind it, because you can catch all kind of fish, whether it be bass or drum or catfish. It'd be just a really good fun day. Creek mouth's a good place. If you can get a smaller creek mouth, that's really a bass magnet. You can probably catch fish there all time of year. I'd probably say if I had one, it'd be a creek mouth. That way, because you can go shallow, you can go deep, you kind of cover the whole thing with that. MLF blows. Oh, come on, man. MLF is awesome. Great format. Watch pros get flustered and scramble. Yeah, I like watching Major League Fishing. I've seen a couple of those guys that, you think some of those guys are, can keep their composure. I've seen some of those guys just have meltdowns on Major League Fishing. It's kind of fun to watch. It's, Major League Fishing, my wife loves it. And, I'll think she's not paying attention, but every time they'll say fish landing violations, she just busts a gut laughing. Need a video from Lake Monroe. Where is Lake Monroe at? Nathan Martin, where's Lake Monroe? Anyone remember Fish Fishburne? I used to love to watch Fish Fishburne on TV. He's goofy, but I used to love to watch him. Bill Dance, Jimmy Houston. How many remembers watching Orlando Wilson? I used to watch Orlando Wilson all the time. I liked him too. What's so pros about pros catching dinks? To me, it's more about, some of those fish have, it can be a dink fest on Major League Fishing, but I like the format. I like to see how the pros react to the conditions. Some of them that you think is real hammers, you get on there and see, well, they're not as good as you think they are. And it's nice to see who can really adapt to the conditions on Major League Fishing. I know there's not just a ton of just huge fish caught, but, if you'll go back and look at the results, probably at the end of the day, if you add up everybody's top 5, usually the guy that's on top is going to be the one that's on top, whether it's they catch 500 fish a day or 5. That's just my opinion. I know that Timmy Horton got on there one day and just schooled everybody on an offshore bite when everybody else was throwing shallow. And I've watched, those with Kevin Van Dam on there when he won. I actually watched a program on YouTube for 2 hours straight, him just straight whacking them. And it was awesome. Let's see. Gerald Swindle's the man. Yes, I love Gerald Swindle. He's awesome. Between Amory and Aberdeen, I think that was like Lake Monroe. Okay, I'll have to look that. I have to look that lake up. Ronald Reagan knows where Lake Monroe is. Okay. What state am I in? Mississippi, if you cannot tell. Most fish I've caught in a day, mine's 203. I don't know. I hadn't ever counted. Probably 50 or so, maybe. Talking about big bags. Okay, we were talking about tournaments there, Johnny. We were talking about tournaments here recently with the Winter Trail. Okay, Ernie, my son is a member of Tupelo High School bass team. They have 4 tournaments in February at Bay Springs. Where to and what rigs do you recommend? Lures. I recommend an Alabama rig. Chuck, good to see you again, Chuck, by the way. Alabama rig this time is killer. You might could ask Brad Presley. I think he may be the coach down there on that Tupelo team. Alabama rig all day long. If I had to pick one lure with a team tournament, have one guy fish an Alabama rig, and have maybe another guy maybe go a finesse route with a blade bait like a steel shad, or maybe a drop shot or shaky head or something like that. Lake Lamar Bruce is pretty dead here lately. I hate to hear that about Lake Lamar Bruce because I was actually thinking about going there this week. I know that last year Lake Lamar Bruce was just hammered bad when they opened that back up and there was a new lake record caught out of there. But Lake Lamar Bruce, I went last year once and it was covered up with people, and but I hate to hear that it's been pretty dead lately. Maybe this cold weather and people kind of staying indoors, maybe that lake will kind of rest a little bit and maybe it'll be real good in spring. G-Man's the man, but the stage made him not catching dinks. Well, Gerald Swindle he's a talker. He's an entertainer, that's for sure. But He did win Angler of the Year. Twice. Perks Fed and Fishing Buddy Big Game Warren. Have I ever ran a trout line? Yes. I have a couple of times. Not with very much success, but I'm not really a cat fisherman, so you really can't... I'm not the authority on trout lines at all. I come back the next day and it was all tangled up. Chuck, Brad's the coach. Brad's the coach. Brad's a good feller. He's a real good fisherman too. What depth? I don't know, Chuck. Depends on water clarity. If it's really clear out there at Bay Springs, I'd back off a little bit, and if it's a little stained, I'd get closer to the bank. That would be my suggestion for Bay Springs. But if you can find a north-facing bank with either some rock on it or some wood in the wintertime, especially in February when it's cold, that's shielded from the north wind, because, and I say that because, you know, the sun's going to shine on that north-facing side more, and it's going to warm up that water a little bit more, and you may have to go to the north end of the lake to do that, and that water may be a little dirtier, which is going to hold that heat a little bit better, Chuck. So I would maybe try those north-facing banks where it's kind of shielded and it's got a lot of sunlight on it. 4-inch Z-Man TRD grub. Haven't tried the grub in the Z-Man, but the TRD is absolute money. Chuck, again, when those guys have that tournament, and I don't know if there's any other guys from the Tupelo fishing team watching this, but Chuck, if it's not off limits, go up that waterway and fish those drains with a Ned rig. That's just my suggestion. That's what I would do. Far as color, if it's dirty, black and blue, or a June bug. Rattle trap on Bay Springs right now. Tim is absolutely right. Rattle trap, good. Huge bass in Lake Lamar. Yes, they are giant fish in Lake Lamar, but they've... what color? Chuck, I would suggest red in February, pre-spawn. Where's Lake Lamar Bruce? Lake Lamar Bruce is in South Tupelo, Mississippi. A-rig's good, yep. Tupelo, Mississippi. Ned rig's good. Have to run. Great chatting. Good to see you, Zachary. My most memorable fish tournament was probably the first one I ever won, which was a couple of years ago down on Peppertown. It was down in Fulton, Mississippi. That's the first one I won. I caught them on a bait that I bought the day before, which was a Storm 360 swim bait. And I was fishing up in the lock. Super finesse swim bait, like a 3-inch swim bait. And what did I learn? Never give up. Just like Ike says, never give up. I caught my last keeper fish at the ramp when I was waiting to load my boat. There was some riprap there, and I threw a little Zoom Super Hog around the riprap, and I caught my last keeper fish with like 2 minutes to go. And I learned never give up. Just like, you know, you hear Ike and Ellie say, never give up, and that's why. Chuck, this is why we sponsor us. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it. You know, if I can help anybody out, I will. Rattle trap on Bay Silver with orange belly if the water's not chocolate milk. That's true. If stains go with red orange with a rattle trap, absolutely. How much do I charge someone to come fish with me? I've never been paid for 2 fish or have anybody come with me, so I don't know what to charge. Favorite Ned rig color, TRD color at Pickwick. I've got about 3 of them. One of them is a June bug. If it's a little dirty, black and blue. If it's real dirty, and if it's clear, there's a color called the Deal, which is kind of shad colored. It's kind of a dirty pearl on the bottom and kind of a light green on top. That is my favorite Ned rig. Those three colors: Clearwater, chartreuse, black. Yes, chartreuse body, black jig head. Chartreuse body, black jig head. Yeah, that's a good color, Tommy. I think green algae pumpkin. Can we give a shout out here? Yeah, go ahead, Chuck. Shout out to anybody you want to. Ned rig worm. Are you talking about the big TRD on that Ned rig, Tim? Homer Simpson's lure. No, I never used a Homer Simpson lure. But I'll try it. I'll try anything if it catches a fish. Yeah, I've tried the big TRD. Been experimenting with it a little bit. I've actually been experimenting with a that same size and like a Yum dinger, and just kind of cut it down to that big TRD size on a 1/4 ounce jig head, just to kind of give it a bigger profile and just kind of drag it. I only tried it once, but I hadn't had a whole lot of luck with it. But the day I went, the fishing was not really good anyways. Green pumpkin, the big TRDs. Zachary caught every bass last Saturday on it. Well, I'm going to have to try it. I've got some big TRDs in the deal color, which is a really good color that I like. And I love Z-Man plastics. They're awesome. And they last all day long. I know that I've had a Ned rig TRD. I've had I know for 3 trips before, catching bass left and right, and it's not tore up on me. Just put a little super glue on the head, and it'll stay on there all day long. And I like using there's 2 type of heads I like with that TRD. That is the Z-Man, the weedless Ned rig, which has got the 2 little wires coming out of the head, and that's one I really like. And also the weedless Ned rig from Flatlands Custom Tackle. They've got one with it's a jig head with a kind of looks like an extra wide gap. I think it's a 1/0 is what he's got. He's got some other sizes, but I like that. You can throw that Ned rig in anything, and it'll come through it on that weedless one from Flatlands Custom Tackle. Do I prefer down scan or side imaging? Both, really. My graph, I've got a Helix 9 at the console. I really like them both, just to kind of see what's going on down there. If you can afford both, great. If you can only have one, the down scan's great too. If you can't afford one with side imaging and you can only afford a down scan, then that's great. I don't fish offshore a lot, so I don't get the full use out of it as I probably could. But I do love my graphs, mainly for the GPS, because I like to go to different places, and that GPS really helps, especially when I go up to Florence and that section of Pickwick, because I'm not as familiar with it as I am down near Yellow Creek. So I really like my GPSs. And up front on the deck, excuse me. Getting hoarse here. On the deck up front, I've got an old Humminbird 598. It's got the down scanning and side scanning, but the screen's like this big, so you can't really see it. But I use mainly just the GPS on it. Have I ever used Dawn dishwashing soap to catch night crawlers? No, never heard of that trick. Let's see here. Chuck says, for those familiar with Down's Grocery and a recent owner passing, James Down, the family has closed the store. Butch Scott has purchased all of his stock and has opened a bait shop in the former Guntown Pawn and Jewelry Building. Butch Scott was huge in the bass scene through the mid-90s, with many appearances in St. Jude Classic as well as the Redman Classic that used to be hosted years ago. He was also the founder and president of what was then the Baldwin Bass Club. Just purchased the stock, and live baits are coming. Ernie will be there in the future hosting a seminar once the grand opening is announced. Well, hey, I'm glad to know I'll be there. All right. But you guys, go support these guys. I love supporting small tackle stores. I love going in those. You know, Tackle Warehouse and Bass Pro Shops, they're awesome. They're great. But, you know, those small tackle stores, you just can't beat them. They've got a lot of lures that some of the other people don't, and the knowledge that comes out of those small tackle stores, you just can't beat them. I know that when I was up, last time I was up at Florence, I stopped by Perkins and talked to those guys, you know, and they're usually on track with what's going on the lake, and they're usually open with all the information they have. So support your local small town bait and tackle shop. They're awesome. Used to fish the Redman Classic. That is now the BFL All-American. I used to fish the Redman Series before it was named the BFL. That was a long time ago. But I used to love fishing those BFLs and Redmans. Met a lot of good guys doing it. Years ago, yes, years ago. Don't fish too many tournaments anymore. I fished a club last year and the year before, maybe even the year before that, but kind of retired from the tournament scene. I like doing my videos and my live streams and just talking about fishing, and you know, if I can help somebody catch a fish, I enjoy doing that more than I do going out and try to catch them. Plus, to be honest with you, I just wasn't very good at it. But I always worried about what somebody else was doing other than kind of focusing on what I was doing. Have a good weekenders. Hopefully catch all the big ones, guys. See you later, Mr. Tim. It was good having you on. Last club's late 90s, Selmer County. You know, I think they still got that Selmer County club up there, Chuck. Seems like I talked to a fella not too long ago who was a member up there. Or it might have been that county club. I'm not sure what, McNairy County, I think it is. I still think they got that club up there. A lot of good clubs around here, though. A lot of good anglers around here. You know, I'm a firm believer that, you know, the best anglers are not the ones you see on tour. They're the ones that, you know, most of you probably know. They love that Tennessee River. Tennessee River is awesome. I love it, too. Yes, Tim, we are going to go sometime. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to going, Mr. Tim. All right. Have I ever caught a real frog on a fake frog? No, but I have seen that done a lot. I don't know what the appeal of that is, but I have seen a lot of real frogs being caught on fake frogs. I don't understand that, but it's kind of funny when I do see it. Let's see here. Alright guys, I've been on here for about 40 minutes and my voice is about to give out on me. I've enjoyed talking to each one of you guys. I got on here essentially to just say thank everybody for the 1,000 subscribers that I got on my YouTube channel. You know, that's primarily the reason I got on here, but I love to get on here and start talking fish, and I hopefully plan on doing a lot more live streams like this. I really enjoy connecting with people and talking about fishing. I can do that all day long, but my voice is about to give out now, and I'm getting a little bit hoarse. So thank you guys for watching. I'll be back maybe in a few days, and we'll talk about some more fishing. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to shoot me a message directly. If I didn't get you on here, I apologize for that if I missed your comment. Great seeing your wife. No fishing in the house. It's movie time. Great plan. See you in touch with the plans there. Good to see you again, Chuck. Tommy, good to see you. All you guys, good to see you guys again. Like I said, if you got any more questions, I'll be happy to help you. Just shoot me a message. And other than that, guys, y'all have a good weekend. Get out there and catch you guys some fish. If you can, be careful. It's going to be raining a lot this weekend. You may have to wait a week. But I'm going to head on out. Guys, have a good night. God bless you. I love every one of you.